The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour.
ChatGPT did become the world's most downloaded non-gaming app.
Literally the job of everyone in government to address the media and the public.
What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on Zandy Silva as the deputy PLP leader?
A community that can't feed itself is a community that...
What you may not know, though, is that Bermuda, we have a connection with Epstein, too.
Things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough.
When you see access to U.S. dollars disappear, that's when you have a problem.
If you've got a town in the UK with a similar sized population, this place absolutely outshines it.
It's Tuesday, the 17th day of March, 2026. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House, Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman, and we'll have a news break from Teo Dill in a bit. How's everyone feeling on this Tuesday morning or afternoon, wherever you may be? How's everyone feeling today? Everyone ready for another exciting community conversation, ready to engage? I hope so. I really do. I really hope so, because we're going to have some fun today, folks. We are going to have some fun today. Well, you know what? Good morning, says James Burgess. Good morning to the Daily Hour team. So I'm here and listening. Welcome to your guests. Yes, indeed. And speaking of guests, we've got a very special guest today coming on. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one as we welcome back Keishon Wilson on from Freisenbruch. Keishon's been on quite a few times, been encouraging us to plan accordingly, plan for the unexpected. Make sure that ourselves and our loved ones are not left in limbo. Always enjoy the conversations with Keishon. Looking forward to another engaging one, and get your questions and comments ready. I always say in our community, we should have more conversations like this. So looking forward to learning something new and engaging Keishon on life insurance today. The daily play is going to be a remember when. This is one of the most Bermuda remember wins, and it's not that long ago. So I really hope that you all are locked in, tuned in, and ready to get this right. All righty. In the meantime, if you are streaming with us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, or Instagram, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Let's jump right into today's conversation. Suzanne Ingham says, good morning. Happy Tuesday, Jamal. TDH is in his house. Yes, we are. Questions of the morning. What are your thoughts on the government taking over the municipalities? And do you think the government should have more control over municipalities? Well, what am I talking about today? Or what are we discussing? Well, it could be the end of an era for Bermuda's municipalities if you've been paying attention. A major political chapter in Bermuda may have just come to a close. After years of legal battles, protest, and heated political debate, the Municipalities Reform Act, 2026, has now been approved in the House of Assembly. The vote passed 19-11, with all opposition MPs voting against the legislation. This reform has been one of the most controversial political issues in Bermuda for nearly 2 decades. Supporters of the legislation argue that reforms are about modernizing municipal governance and ensuring that the capital city and town of St. George are managed in a way that benefits the entire country. But Critics say something very different. They argue that this is effectively the end of elected municipal government, and that the legislation removes a layer of local democracy that has existed for generations. In fact, even within the governing party, there were signs of discomfort. Two PLP MPs, both Levita Fogo and Renee Ming, objected in principle to the removal of St. George's governance, although they were absent when the vote was taken. This debate goes far beyond City Hall. At its heart, it raises a deeper question about power in Bermuda. Should municipalities operate independently, representing the residents and businesses of those areas? Or should the national government have greater control over how Bermuda's most important economic centers are governed? Because Hamilton isn't just another town, it's the financial and commercial heart of Bermuda. And how it's governed affects everything from development and infrastructure to the business environment. Now that the legislation is passed, the next chapter begins. But the political debate about who should control Bermuda's cities and whose voice matters most is unlikely to end anytime soon. So those are your questions this morning. This is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. What are your thoughts on the government taking over the municipalities? And do you think the government should have more control over municipalities? That's a yes or no. Why is this even a topic of conversation? Well, again, we expect the opposition to oppose this. It makes sense. But I think what's more shocking is members of the government who, I guess, abstained, right, and didn't agree with it. It comes across very controversial because people feel it weakens local democracy, and it removes elected municipal governance, like as basically the government can appoint a mayor rather than having an elected mayor. It centralizes power with central government. So, I mean, that's valid criticism, right? But the government's position says that reform is necessary, modernize municipal governance, ensuring the cities operate in the best interest of the entire country. There are political divisions with this. All OBA MPs, as mentioned, voted against the legislation, and two ELP MPs expressed objections in principle. Now, this long-running debate over municipal reform has been going on for nearly 2 decades, making it one of the longest-running political fights in Bermuda. I don't know how you all feel, if you even care about this, but it does tell us something about Bermuda, that we are in a space where it's almost like I don't know how to feel about this. In one breath, I'm like, well, you know, Bermuda's so small. Do we really need these, you know, small governance in the town of St. George and the city of Hamilton? And then in another breath, I'm like, yeah, we do, right? I also understand there are people who respectfully do not trust the Bermuda Progressive Labour Party government to handle anything further. Like, they don't believe that they have what it takes to govern what they're responsible for already. So why should they have more power to do others? But my response to that, well, it's not really about the current government. This would be government, period. It's an interesting one, and I think it's something everyone needs to pay close attention to. Now, the other side is, well, what happens in at least Hamilton impacts everyone in Bermuda. So why should those who just have businesses or, you know, in the city have a say in the direction? Like, we don't have those votes for, you know, other areas where people have businesses and so on. The vote is the general election, right? It's a lot to think about, but I feel like everyone needs to know what's going on here and be a part of this conversation. It's necessary. It's extremely necessary. Let's go to the audience. Again, audience, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. What are your thoughts on the government taking over the municipalities? And yes or no, do you think the government should have more control over the municipalities? That's the corporations of both Hamilton and St. George. We've got Anthony Richardson, 1415, says, long overdue, especially in relation to the Corporation of Hamilton. The regulatory regime needed to be modernized. Okay. I appreciate. Tell us more. Anthony Richardson, tell us more. Sandra B.M. Ming says, pleasant good morning. I am so happy Harbor Nights begins May till April, September. What's that got to do with anything? Okay, yeah. we're excited too. Thanks for the announcement, Sandra. All right, we've got Suzanne Ingham says, no, I don't think they should be given much control over anything at all. The more control over things they have, they threatened more, I think she means. Intros, they have more over, they have over every human being, which is wrong. Okay, I think I get you there. But basically, Suzanne's saying that the government should not have more control. And I think that's an argument. And as I just said to you all, I think we have to take the idea that the current government and just think government, right? What I think they're trying to say is that Bermudians, the entire country, should have a say in the direction of our financial center, which drives our economy, which is the city of Hamilton. I think a concern people have about that is we've seen how friends and family, regardless of political party, we've seen how things operate, right? So who's to say the next mayor of Hamilton isn't just going to be a friend of whoever the premier is or the minister who oversees the municipalities? Who's to say it's not going to be the best, most qualified person, right? The person who, it makes sense, has some legislative experience, a legal background, and a finance background to make sure that everything is legit, right? This is the concern that I and many others would have. Now, on the flip side, people could say, well, who's to say these people get elected as mayors or council members anyway? It's an interesting one. I honestly don't know where to fall. I believe in modernization if it improves things. I'm not one, who believes in change for the sake of change. I believe if it's not change that's going to improve things, then we should, I'm not saying stay where we are, but we need to reevaluate, revisit, and try to find a way, right? We've got Sean Smith says, what are the local businesses and residents of this municipality saying? Do they have any objections? That's a valid question. I think truthfully, at least from a St. George perspective, I'm going to feel like the two MPs from down the east, both Renee Ming and Levita Fogo, were representing those businesses and residents. I'm going to say that they likely feel how those folks feel with those objections. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that. Suzanne Ingham says the more control they have, the more they control every human being. No, they have no right to control us like they do. Folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Again, what are your thoughts on the government taking over the municipalities? And just a yes or a no. Do you think government should have more control over municipalities? Do you think that the government should oversee the city Corporation of Hamilton? Do you think the government should oversee the Corporation of St. George? What are your thoughts? Do you care at all? Do you not have, I mean, this is not a thought. This is not something you particularly care about, but let us know your thoughts. I think I'm going to use Dockyard, right? Because I'm going to say that Dockyard's probably more important than St. George in terms of, economic means for Bermuda at this point. And I love St. George. St. George is probably my favorite part of the island, right? Just love how quiet and quaint it is. But with the amount of activity there from cruise ships up in Dockyard and, the traffic that they continuously have, I'm probably thinking they're probably more important to the economy than St. George at this point. And they don't have a corporation. They have what's it called, WEDCO, and WEDCO falls under. Don't they come under government like a Quango? Right. So I think if we're looking at it like that, then it's already being done. Right. Now, again, I know people's concerns. Oh, how do we avoid from friends and family? How do we avoid corruption and so on? Look, we don't have to look too far back to remember what happened with the city of Hamilton not long ago. So I just want people to give it thought. Remove the PLP as the government and ask yourself, do you think this would make sense regardless of who the government is? I know I'm not that person who's usually borderline on stuff like this. I think Sean Smith's question is valid. I'd love to sit and chat with some of the local businesses and residents in the various cities and the towns to see how they feel, to get some feedback from them. But what are your thoughts, audience? This is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. What are your thoughts on the government taking over the municipalities? And do you think the government should have more control over municipalities? We've got Dr. Anthony Richardson says, need to strike a balance between the interests of people living in the areas versus the businesses. Okay. Sandra B.M. Ming says, yes, does think the government should have more control over municipalities. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, it's a case of parliamentary supremacy. The corporation was attempting to control central government, the tail wagging the dog. This was a challenge to central government that the corporation had to lose. Okay. All right. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, in such a small jurisdiction, I can see the benefit of consolidation of services. However, with a deterioration of government infrastructure and services outside of the cities doesn't give us confidence. I think that's where I'm at, Charles. That's where I'm at. I think overall how people feel like Bermuda has been governed in recent times doesn't give them confidence that the well-being of the Corporation of Hamilton or Corporation of St. George's would be in good hands under current administration. I'm happy to be proven wrong. You know, let me say this because, you know, you all just think I'm a hater, right? Yeah, you think I'm a hater. But let me say this. At no point do I ever want any government or premier to fail. I don't, because I love Bermuda that much. And if Bermuda does well, like if they do well, Bermuda does well, at least I would hope, right? And if Bermuda does well, they should do well, I would hope. So I want whoever chooses to get into politics and represent and govern Bermuda, I want them to do well for the country. And my hope is that if they do well, Bermuda does well, and vice versa. If Bermuda does well, they do well. However, that doesn't, you know, mean that people are going to be, you know, immune from criticism and accountability. And I think if we are honest, if we put our emotions and politics aside, I'm a believer in an independent Bermuda. But I completely understand why some folks don't want an independent Bermuda, because they don't trust the way that Bermuda has been governed by the people they believe would be in charge if Bermuda were to be independent. And I think that's the same with the municipalities. People don't trust or like the way that Bermuda has been governed. So to give them more power over the corporations, to them spells disaster. Right? Who's to say the best Bermudians are going to be given the opportunity to lead the corporation as mayors if appointed by the current government? I think the concerns are legit. That's not to say, let me be clear, that the current government would not appoint the best people. It's just being direct and honest, saying that history shows, or recent history tells us something different. That makes sense? You know, I'm not trying to be, you know how you all like to call me a hater and stuff, and I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just speaking a truth that many people share. That's it. Nothing crazy. That's it. But what are your, just a yes or no, audience? Yes or no? This is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Yes or no? Do you think the government should have more control over municipalities? Yes or no? I know you all don't, like, you know, Dr. King warned you all about people like me in this instance. People on the fence. I'm going to say Do I think the government should have more control? The government, yes. I'm going to say yes. And when I say the government, I'm not speaking of PLP, OBA, UBP, FDM. I'm speaking of the government. If done properly, I think it's a yes for me. I think it's a yes for me. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, I think that's one of the issues. The businesses will lose their voice in municipal elections. I hope the government keeps them engaged when it comes to making decisions and providing services. I would hope not. I would hope they still have a voice. Maybe they create a board, right? The government creates a board, and the board and government choose the, mayors and whoever other council people as well. I mean, maybe I'm being naive, folks. Dr. Anthony Richardson says, yes, all of Bermuda's governing entities have problems effectively regulating / governing their areas of responsibility. Sean Smith says, the sitting government of the day is ultimately responsible for the municipalities under the Municipalities Act 1923. I don't understand the meaning of government having more control. Government having more control means taking away the elected positions, for instance, and appointing them. So instead of an elected mayor, the government gets to appoint the mayor or appoint council people. That's giving them more control. So yes, that's why I framed the question, more control versus control. I hope that clarified a bit. Suzanne Ingham says, my answer is still no, still a no. Limestone Living says total control, probably not, but more enhanced oversight, yes. Allison Russell says, no more overpaid boards. Yeah, I think we have enough of those. I would agree with you, Allison Russell. I definitely would agree with you. All right, folks, that's your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure. We're going to go to the Daily Hour news break with our good friend Teo Dill. And after that, we will have a very special guest, Keishon Wilson, coming on. We're talking life insurance, and this is a conversation we don't have enough in our community. We really need to have this conversation a bit more. And, we are, unfortunately, this is a harsh truth. People are dying at younger ages, right? Don't leave your family in limbo. All right, let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure, then we'll go to the news break with Teo Dill. Stick with us.
The Daily Discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Titan Express delivers safe, professional, and reliable transportation and tours across the island. From island tours to cultural experiences, they set the standard. And Secure is your go-to for property management, waste management, and residential and commercial services. Visit securebda.com. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is their commitment to you.
All righty, folks. If you haven't already and you're streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to go to Teo Dill for your Daily Hour news break. After that, we'll take our first break of the day. And then do not forget, you get your questions and comments ready because we need to have the conversation we're about to have today with our good friend Keishon Wilson from Freisenbruch about life insurance, just family planning. He's going to address your concerns, hesitations, and why it matters. All right, let's go to Teo, see what he's got for us today.
Good morning, I'm Teo Dill, and welcome to your TDH News Break brought to you by the great folks at Peoples. Wherever life takes you, Peoples is here when you need us, a familiar face, a caring hand, and a reminder that you matter. Father of two, Kawaje Rayner, has been identified as a person who was killed during this weekend's shooting in Southampton. This from BPS Commissioner Darren Simons during a presser yesterday afternoon where he attempted to reassure the community that we are, in fact, safe.
And I understand that residents in the Southampton and across Bermuda are feeling a sense of concern regarding their safety and well-being of their neighborhoods. I want to reassure the community that your safety remains our primary focus. We're not treating these incidents as isolated numbers on a page. We recognize them as tragedies that affect the peace of mind of every resident.
Chief Inspector Derica Burns shared a summary of the events as they're currently understood that led to the fatal shooting of 26-year-old Kawaje Rayner.
He was outside his residence with others when two suspects arrived at the property on a dark-colored motorcycle. The motorcycle entered the yard of the residence, and the victim was shot several times. The passenger returned to the motorcycle, and both suspects left the scene traveling west along the railway trail. A dog that was at the residence was also shot and killed. Police officers and emergency services responded quickly, and life-saving efforts were carried out. However, despite these efforts, the victim was pronounced dead at the hospital.
And a remarkable piece of ocean history connected to Bermuda has just resurfaced. Now, I know that that's an incredibly relevant and important piece of scientific archaeology that sounds like the aftermath, to me, of a chili cook-off, maybe, held between people who were trying desperately to hold in some sounds that needed to come out, but it remains beautiful all the same. And in other really interesting ocean-related news, a search tied to the Bermuda Triangle has produced a discovery that nobody expected. A team of divers working on a History Channel documentary about the Bermuda Triangle were originally looking for the wreckage of a World War II rescue plane that vanished in 1945. But instead, while exploring the seafloor close to Florida, they stumbled onto something completely different, a 20-foot section of spacecraft debris. Experts later confirmed the fragment came from the Space Shuttle Challenger, which tragically broke apart shortly after launch in 1986. So a mission focused on solving a Bermuda Triangle aviation mystery ended up uncovering a lost piece of one of NASA's most historic disasters. And in case you forgot or were too young to remember, here's what the Challenger launch disaster looked, sounded, and felt like.
The tower. All the communications between the shuttle and mission control indicated everything was going fine. There was a sense of relief that the much-delayed flight was finally underway.
Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
It happened just over 1 minute into flight.
1 minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
And today's weather should start off looking decent, but we are heading into a cloudier, wetter pattern very soon. For today, expect a mix of sun and cloud with skies thickening later tonight. Winds are southeasterly and breezy, turning southerly this afternoon and easing slightly overnight. Highs reach around 75, dropping to about 68. Looking ahead, Wednesday brings more cloud with a few showers, and by Thursday, we're into occasional rain and unsettled conditions, though it should stay mild and breezy throughout. And that's your TDH News Break, brought to you by our friends at Peoples. I'm Teo Dill. Now back to the show.
Thanks, Tay. There's whale noises. This is a PG show, so I'll just leave it at that, folks. This guy finds some incredible stuff. Yeah, thanks for that, Teo. So days of the year, folks. We've got, it's why is it corned beef? Oh, St. Patrick's Day today. So you all wearing green or something? I guess you all are wearing green. I didn't get the memo. I'm not. Is it like an American Irish thing or Irish thing? Because I was told that more people celebrate it in the United States than they do in Ireland, right? But anyway, if that's your thing, happy St. Patrick's Day. But we're going to go with, you've heard the term 2 for Tuesday? Yeah, 2 for Tuesday. Like they do it in bars, like 2 for Tuesday, like restaurants and so on. Well, today, it's actually known as Tea for Tuesday. Tea for Tuesday. So, people like myself who choose not to indulge in the adult spirits anymore, I do like me some tea. So I'm going to ask you all, audience, please let us know what your favorite tea is for Tea for Tuesday. I'm going to go with lemon ginger. Yeah, that's always easy for me. Lemon ginger, that's my favorite tea. What's your favorite tea? Let us know what your favorite flavor of tea is. lemon ginger. Got to have a shortbread with me. Is that too British? I love shortbreads, folks. Love shortbreads. We've got his delight says Bengal spice. Okay, Bengal spice. I never had that one. I'm gonna have to check that out. But anyway, to all who celebrate, happy St. Patrick's Day, and we'll see you on the other side of this break. We've got Keishon coming on. We're speaking about how to better prepare your family for something may happen. Stick with us. We'll be back, and I'll get your favorite flavor of tea after this break. Do not go anywhere.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Take a look at our workbook for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
What lasts isn't what you buy, but what it becomes. With the HSBC MasterCard credit card, every spend quietly adds to a story shaped by intention and offers what matters most. Support that meets you where you are. Protection that preserves what you choose. Confidence for the unexpected. Peace of mind wherever your story leads. Start your next chapter. Use your card today. HSBC is licensed to conduct banking and investment business by the Bermuda Monetary Authority.
What if the age that really matters isn't the one on your ID? You probably know your chronological age, the number of candles on your last birthday cake. But there's another kind of age that may be even more important, your biological age. This reflects how old your body truly is at the cellular level. It is influenced by your genes, your environment, and the choices you make every day. Two people can both be 40 years old on paper, but one may have the body of a healthy 30-year-old, while the other is biologically closer to 50. The difference? Lifestyle choices on nutrition, sleep, stress, exercise, and exposure to toxins. That means you have some control over your biological clock, and that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because when it comes to aging, it's not just about living longer, it's about living better. Want to know your predicted biological age today? Download the free Carrier Genetics app and fill in the lifestyle questionnaire.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Jamel Hartman here. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC, Bermuda Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations Folks, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, I did ask you all before you went to break. It's tea for Tuesday. Sorry, tea for Tuesday. So I asked, what's your favorite flavor of tea? Suzanne English says ginger, turmeric, hawthorn, and lemon. We've got Nicole Walker says ginger sometimes with hibiscus. We've got Shonette Sumner next to popcorn. Tea is my favorite thing. I'll try any kind of tea. All right. We've got Manuela says ultra spice chai. We've got lemon ginger, says Michelle White. Lemon ginger, says Sherry Lynn Pringle. Yemeni and Moroccan tea, says Dr. Anthony Richardson. Favorite tea, limestone living, says London fog. Okay. And we've got Bermuda Live, says Gunja stalk tea with honey. The most relaxing and calming tea. Drink it and you'll have the best sleep, waking up feeling like you really had sleep. You'll feel great mornings, ready for any task. Well, I heard Gunja and I believe you. Anyway, folks, let's get to it. Let's give a warm TDH welcome. Keishon Wilson has been on the show before. Always a great time engaging. Audience, I say it all the time. We don't have these conversations in our community enough. And before we get started, I just want to ask everyone in the audience, well, we bring Keishon in. Yes or no, do you have at least one life insurance policy? Yes or no? In the meantime, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our very special guest from Freisenbruch, Keishon Wilson. Greetings, Keishon. Welcome back.
Greetings. Thank you for having me again. Always a pleasure.
Oops, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Audience? I don't think we can. Is it me?
I can hear you.
Nope, I definitely can't hear.
Can you
Try
hear me now?
the studio, then come right back in. Let's see if that works.
All right.
I'm gonna get Keishon to leave and then come right back in. Maybe it's me. It might be me, team. Don't mind us. It might be me. Okay, you can hear him. Okay, so why couldn't I hear him just now? Okay. We're going to fix this. Don't worry. We'll fix it, folks. We'll fix it. Give us a second. It's technology. Things happen. Let's see. Let's bring Keishon back in. All right, let's bring Keishon back in. Give us a second. But in the meantime, yes or no, do you have life insurance? Kiz says yes. WK Lama. Dr. Anthony Richardson says yes. Michelle White says no. Nicole Walker says yes. Dr. Patricia Chapman says yes. Shigarina says yes. Okay, so all right, let's bring Keishon back in. You all can give him another round of applause. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Keishon.
Good day.
My apologies, sir. My apologies.
Oh, good, man. Stuff happens.
We have a bit of challenge every now and then. But before we get into the whole conversation today, I got to ask you, it's tea for Tuesday.
Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor of tea?
I think it's a toss-up for me. I like lemon ginger, and I do like peppermint, depending on where I'm at. But something soothing, that's, I think, what's my favorite for now.
Can't go wrong with peppermint. Can't go wrong with peppermint either. So look, we've got a few people in the audience. They said they don't have life insurance. So we've got a conversation to have today because for me, everyone in the community should have it, but everyone in the community doesn't understand why it's necessary. Yeah. Before we jump in, for those who may be tuning in and hearing you, seeing you for the first time, just give the audience a bit about your background and tell them what it is that you do with Freisenbruch.
Yeah, definitely. So right now I am the Senior Life and Pension Sales Advisor at Freisenbruch. So a lot of the conversations that I have with clients would be surrounding, how they're building for the future. and what they're doing to protect it. So, a lot of the conversations we have would be tailored around one's personal goals, the things they have going on, their dreams, their obligations, and how we can find the best route to that, and be as efficient as possible, but also be responsible in protecting the light at the end of the tunnel to ensure it still happens in the worst case scenario.
Let's jump into it, because there's still a lot of hesitation about life insurance, misunderstandings around life insurance in our community. Why do you think it still exists in 2026?
I'd say just a lack of financial education. In Bermuda, we do have a lot of subject matter experts. We love to talk about things, but I don't think we always have the real stone cold facts about the topics. We kind of heard something and then we run with it, and we think we're doing people a service by taking these things that we've heard that we haven't really fact checked or vetted. There's a lot of misinformation. I think right now in the community, and it's not everyone, a lot of people are very interested in what these tools and these financial vehicles can do for them while they're alive. So, a hot topic is always the retirement side, or how we can build, but we don't always prioritize the protection side of it. I do think there's also discomfort talking about last expenses when it comes to death. And it's not a topic that people tend to dive head first at. But I think having a conversation and understanding exactly how these tools work does a wealth of good for your perspective and understanding, so that you can make better decisions. There's always something that aligns with what you have going on, and not what you may have heard someone else going through.
Yeah. For someone who thinks that they don't need life insurance, what would you say to them? Like, you got a healthy 35-year-old, I don't need anything, I'm not going anywhere.
Well, the main thing is what is that person's goals? Does this person have dependents? Is someone dependent on your income currently? And if you do have someone dependent on your income, whether that is to feed them, clothe them, put them through school, if you have anything like that going on, how long would that person survive if your income stopped? If the worst happened to you, what position does that put them in? I think one of the best examples is the mortgage example. If you have a 30-year obligation to pay the bank money for a property that you've purchased or that you've borrowed money to purchase, if the worst had happened to you, whose responsibility is it now to keep up with that dream you had? And I think those are the conversations that we need to have, so we can understand, okay, what is it that I have going on? How important is it to me? And what can I do to protect it? And also the costs associated with protecting these things are not as high as people think. So I think if you think you don't need it, it's probably worth you having a conversation.
Audience, if you have any questions or comments, you can send your questions and comments through. I'll get through as many as possible. But I'll get to one in particular in a few. But just break it down in the most layman terms. What is life insurance actually meant to do?
So insurance itself is a transfer of risk. So from a life insurance perspective, what you're doing is you're delegating the cost or the cost associated with the worst case scenario to an insurance company who's structured financially enough to absorb this large potential loss. And in return, what it is you're doing is you're paying a small, predictable premium for that trade. So you're paying something that's literally next to nothing to the total cost of the loss that they're looking to protect, so that, in the worst case scenario, the cost associated with the risk is absorbed without, strain or stress or anything like that. A lot of people don't have the resources themselves to absorb the cost of the worst case scenarios. Even if we just look at a car, for example, there's a lot of people who cannot afford to replace their car if it was a total loss or write-off. And when we look at financial goals, do you have enough to put your kids through school or pay the mortgage off if the worst happened? And if the answer is no, then an insurance policy is probably one of your priorities.
Why is acting now more important than waiting? Like, get your policy now. Don't wait till you're like in your 40s or 50s or so on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, planning early with anything, you know, being proactive with anything gives you a head start. It puts you in control or in the driver's seat. But because life insurance is linked to mortality, the cost associated with waiting increases the longer you wait. So the older you get, the more it's going to cost. The older you get, the less time horizon you have to, you know, build something and protect, you know, have something that's worth building enough to protect it. And also you're losing out on a lot of value when we look at the participating policies and the wealth transfer concepts. You're losing out on a lot of value by not taking advantage of the time horizons that you have whilst being young. And of course, the cost is less. You know, why wouldn't you want to pay less for, you know, something that may cost too much by the time you realize you need it? You know, so being proactive is always going to be paramount when it comes to doing this the most efficient way.
Yeah. Audience, if you have any questions, especially those who say they don't have life insurance, you can send your questions through. Someone might be tuned in right now and like, you know what? I don't have life insurance, but I'll consider it. What's the first step they should take?
Understanding it, you know, and to be able to fully understand what it is, to then make that decision confidently and say, hey, you know what, maybe it isn't for me, or you know what, maybe it is having these deep conversations. You know, a big part of a life insurance conversation is a needs analysis. So the first thing that we're going to do is determine whether you need it by looking at your situation, your obligations, your goals, and the things you have going on. So a conversation is always first. And I think that is my main thing when it comes to getting this information out there. I think we touched on a lot of the reasons why I have this fire in my belly to get the information out there the last time we spoke. But for me, the information and the education is always the first priority for myself. I need to do my part to ensure that you are equipped with the tools to make better decisions. And I am only interested in a conversation with people who are unsure or want to get to know. And I think what people tend to do with the information is always up to them. But what we don't want to be doing is navigating life blind to things that could have served us well had we just had a better understanding, or even looked to find a better understanding of what it is and how it works.
Not to scare people, but what happens when a community doesn't prioritize protection?
It's a lot of loss occurs. You know, there's a lot of loss. I mean, there's pain associated with losing people you love, and the knife gets dug deeper when you find out how much these things cost and the things that are associated. You know, there are a lot of people now who feel like the money in their bank is enough to give to their family, or, you know, they feel like it's safe or it's there. And, you know, I had this conversation yesterday is, you know, these are tools that can add value to the things that you're trying to achieve. You know, they're not anything that devalues anything you're trying to do. It's actually the total opposite. And I think understanding definitely comes first, for sure.
Indeed. We have a question from the audience. And audience, I'll get through as many questions and comments as possible. Nicole Walker's asking, is there a policy that is specifically designed for mortgage protection?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of the most popular reasons people come for life insurance. Is also one of the concepts that people tend to understand the most, because they understand the risks associated with them not being around to pay for their mortgage. But the way that I like to look at it is, so the answer to the question is yes, because we can put a value on the liability, the duration of the liability, at next to nothing cost in comparison to the liability, to ensure that it is met in the worst case scenario. But yeah, and what I want to touch on with that is, when we think of something like a mortgage, your ability to acquire a mortgage in the first place, whether you have one or not, is just as important as any obligations you have financially. You don't get a mortgage without your income potential. You know, and that's one of the primary things we need to look at. You know, what is it that I am able to create, and what do we lose by me not being here to create it? Okay, what can I do to ensure that I still create what I want if I'm not around to do so?
We've got Shawnette Sumner says, after losing tens of thousands of dollars on my 3 British American policies, I have closed my ears to all talk of life insurance policies. But then
Yeah.
Charles II, he says, I know what you mean, Shawnette. Many, including my mother, lost a lot of money too. I was asking, are there any current protections for policyholders in Bermuda?
So protection for policyholders, the answer to that would be no. So I think the key point to focus on when it comes to that, because I am very familiar with that situation that happened, and it sucks because there's a generation who went through that. And I think because of their experience, it's very valid that they have this sour taste in their mouth around insurance companies. But I think the way to combat that or avoid things like that is doing research on the company that you're buying into. You know, a lot of things can be avoided if we read the label or looked at the fine print or, you know, looked at the ingredients that are involved in what we're consuming. A lot of things could be avoided just by doing our own due diligence. So, you know, I encourage people to do their research. And that's an honest conversation I'm willing to have with everyone. You know, we're very familiar with what British American did. And it does suck, but I don't want you to now lose out on amazing opportunities to pivot, you know, or move somewhere else because of that bad experience. You know, it's like a breakup. Like, you know, if you had a partner and didn't work out, it does not mean that there's nothing else out there for you, you know, to enjoy and experience and make the most of.
Indeed. We've got Laverne Tucker asking, would you say life insurance is just as important as a will?
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. I think the most important thing about a life insurance policy is the beneficiary designation. So a will is definitely important because there are things that people have that they're not going to be able to put into a life insurance policy, like real property, you know, personal property and things like that. But the beneficiary designation in life insurance supersedes a will. It doesn't go through probate. So if you wanted to protect a portion of your wealth from probate, or you wanted proceeds to go to a beneficiary free from probate, free from creditors, free from, you know, lawyer fees and things like that, the beneficiary designation beats the will, meaning whatever is illustrated in your life insurance policy on your beneficiary designation directly goes to the intended person in its entirety, in full, well before, you know, dealing with probate and well before the will gets executed.
I think right now we're living in a time where, you know, people are struggling. Cost of living's out of hand, you know, utilities, groceries. Can you explain to people why, if something were to happen, life insurance will help ease that?
Yeah, definitely. So what we first have to understand is life insurance is insurance first. So what we're not purchasing is something that's designed to help you as much as I think you want it to. What we're purchasing is ensuring that the things that we're doing to help others or our dependents are still going to be met if we, you know, are not around. So even if you are someone who's, you know, struggling to make things happen, or maybe you are paycheck to paycheck and you don't have a whole lot of money, I think is more important for you to look at if that's the situation that you're in. You're kind of at the forefront of having a need, because if you can't do what you're able to do, what happens then? Like what do you want to happen if your income stopped? You know, that's a question you need to consider. But life insurance is not something that's meant for the living, for the insured. You know, we do have participating policies that can provide value to the living, but not the kind of value that I think is, you know, going to save someone's financial situation. Is really easing the financial situation of who you leave behind.
Yeah. And I can speak from experience, having lost someone, in terms of, you know, I'll just be very transparent. My mother took care of everything, you know, in death. Everything was, you know, we were good. However, I was speaking to someone in the US, a family member in the US on Sunday, and we have experienced this with one particular policy in Bermuda, my sister and myself. And, this relative in the U.S. said to me that, grandmother's been passed over almost 2 years now. And companies make it so hard to, retrieve funds. Please speak to people about that to give them confidence that retrieving the funds is actually, not a drawn out process.
Yeah, it's not. When it comes to death claims, all we need to know is that the person died and it wasn't something malicious. It wasn't something, just examples, gang-related violence, that the beneficiary has not maliciously done something to get proceeds. As long as there's nothing suspicious regarding the death of the person, all we need to know is that death occurred, so proof of death, that the person we're speaking to is the beneficiary that's named, and all we would need is their information to give them the proceeds. This is a process that can take, less than a month, as long as we have everything in order. It's not something that's dragged on longer than it needs to. What people don't realize about insurance companies, and I can't speak for all, is that it's always in an insurance company's best interest to pay their claims. It does not help the insurance company, whether the claim was fraudulent or not, to not pay the claim, because it comes with a reputation. It's always in their best interest to do everything by the book and do what they need to do and pay these claims. It's good for the insurance company. So I say that to put a lot of the conspiracies at ease around the nature of insurance companies.
Got you.
This is a good thing.
Yeah. One last question from the audience. We've got Charles H. F. He says, unfortunately, many in Bermuda buy life insurance based off of relationships and not the company. What questions should those looking for insured be asking about the company to minimize their risk?
So what you should be doing is you need to research a company's AM best rating. That alone can tell you a lot about the financial strength of an insurance company and whether they're actually equipped to absorb the cost of, the amount of your claims. Also, when you can research the size of insurance companies online. These are public companies that you can research. What is their financial strength? The insurer that we use in Canada, if we think of how insurance works from a pool of interest. So the bigger the pool of interest, the better financial strength for the insurance company. So if we think of, the strength of a company that's one of the top 5 in North America, the cost associated with insuring us down here is nothing. It is really not something that they're looking to not pay or looking to fight and things like that.
Yeah. Folks, if you would like to learn more, get in touch with Keishon. They can just hit you up at the information below, correct, Keishon?
Yes, you can. Like I say, I'm very interested in having this conversation. It's a topic I love. I'm very passionate about getting the information out to the community. I think we do have a job as subject matter experts to ensure that the community has the tools to make better decisions. So I do encourage, the conversation, reach out.
Indeed. Keishon, thanks so much. Another awesome conversation. Audience, I hope you really found it helpful. It dispelled some of the myths that you have. Until the next time, have a great day, sir.
Thanks a lot, man. All the best.
Thanks, Lou. All right. Keishon Wilson of Freisenbruch, folks. Look, I'm going to be honest. I got life insurance 2 years ago after, we started having these conversations. I had it previously and withdrew it to pay for my master's degree. I get the concerns. I really do. But I appreciate the questions from the audience in terms of what should we be asking the questions. But let's take our final break. We'll come back. And folks, you better get this daily. If you don't get this daily play, it's a Bermuda trivia. Remember when. It's recent history. Recent history. Don't get it wrong. I'll see you after this break. In the meantime, if you're streaming with us, make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, family, colleagues. We'll be back in a few. Stick with us.
Life moves fast, and so can the unexpected. When you insure your home, you need to know that your insurance company has your back. At Freisenbruch, let one of our friendly and professional agents give you that peace of mind. Because when you are covered, you are confident. Call us at 296-3600 or visit freisenbruch.bm to learn more.
Bermuda, there's nothing like a home-cooked meal, especially when you can feed the whole family without stretching your wallet. With the affordable Bermuda basket, you'll find savings on everyday staples like rice, chicken, corn, and more. Everything you need to make a good meal for less. Shop the Bermuda basket at Lindo's, Marketplace, the Garden Market, and the English Market. Visit costofliving.gov.bm to see the full list of goods and start planning your meals. This is a message from the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazog Feed and Supply has everything you need. From top quality foods to toys and supplies, we've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
The Office of Consumer Affairs protects residents by promoting fairness, safety, and transparency in the marketplace across the island. We investigate complaints, manage recalls, educate the public, and enforce consumer protection laws to ensure fair treatment for all. Our team supports consumers by resolving disputes, providing guidance, and helping residents understand their rights and responsibilities. We work with businesses to encourage compliance, ethical practices, and trust, helping create a stable and competitive economy. Through education, enforcement, and outreach, Consumer Affairs helps keep Bermuda's marketplace safe, informed, and accountable.
All right, welcome back to the big show. Jamal Hartman here. This is the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC, Bermuda Medical House, Linda's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5 for ensuring we can pump through the radio airwaves. Thanks again to Keishon Wilson and everyone at Freisenbruch for trusting this platform to engage with such important community information. Folks, it is time for the Daily Play brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? It's a remember when. Don't let me down, Bermuda. Do not let me down. Here we go. Bermuda switched its area code to 441 in what year? Michelle Grant for the win, 1995. Yes. Stacey Ann Brown, come through. It was 1995. Indeed. Yes, 1995. Yeah, Jewel Leave, you came through as well. You all must have Bermuda Trivia Volume 1. Volume 1. Yep. Dr. Anthony Richardson got 95. Yep, it was 95. Mark Hussey Phillips, he says you're wrong. It's 93. It was not 1993. It was 1995. I don't know what your sources are telling you, but yep, you are correct. The area code was 809 prior. It was 809 prior. Correct. You will leave October 1st, 1995. You all doing your homework. I said, don't let me down. I said, don't let me down. I'm not going to call any names, Cousin Mark. But, you know, you all did your thing. But let's wrap up today's conversation. As far as the discussion about the municipalities, I think we need more information as the public. I do think Bermuda is very small to have, different governance. Maybe if they are run like WEDCO, if that's the government's idea, then maybe that makes sense. I would hope that people are included on boards, and not friends and family, but the best people. And I know the best people is going to mean people who align, but if you're taking away the ability for people to vote on who is mayor, I think they should still have a say, right? So yeah, I think some involvement from business owners and residents in this cities and towns would make sense. I also want to say, as far as life insurance, I get people's concerns. I get people's concerns about insurance in general. Having been through a situation where I lost a parent, my mother left us in a very good space, and no one wants to die. The truth is, death it's inevitable, right? We're all gonna get there someday. Hopefully, for all of our sake, not soon, but we will get there. And so, I think preparing for it is necessary, whether that's through life insurance, pensions, but it's necessary to find a way. I completely understand those who are concerned by what's happened in the past with other spaces. But I would hope that we've done enough research on our own to navigate or get our minds past that. Alrighty, got to give you some daily inspiration. Let's see. We've got, let's see, I'm opening my book. No, we're not doing a Clarence Thomas quiz. How did he even make it to this book? I mean, I know he's African American. Hey, what we got? No, we can't do Russell Simmons. Oh, I like this. Sister Soldier. I like this. I'm inclined to remind people of the things they'd most like to forget. I think that's a good quote. Do with that what you will, but I think I'm one of those people as well. Remind people of things they'd like to forget. History, your record, it speaks for itself. You can't get away from it. That doesn't mean we can't be forgiven. All right, folks, got to let you go. But if you haven't already, whatever platform you're streaming on, give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we can pump through the radio areas with these most important community conversations. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.